If we say state or county commissioner or sheriff, that kind of helps us narrow it down. And Cheyenne over there, would you raise your hand? She's going to be our question taker. If you'd like to ask a question at any time during the forum, raise your hand up and she'll come give you a card, and you can raise your hand again and hand it to her. She'll come pick it up. Well, I reckon we'll get started then. Thank you very much for all showing up. We appreciate it. This is the Primary Candidates Forum, sponsored by the Sandpoint Reader and Sandpoint Online. And we really appreciate the candidates for showing up tonight. Please give everybody a round of applause. Hard work. So, first things, am I too loud? Can everybody hear me? Okay. Good to go. First things first, it's best to put your phone on silent or turn it off, just to eliminate distractions. We've got a lot to get through tonight, and we're going to try to end this up around 8 o'clock, so nobody's out too late. We have a couple of moderators tonight, Chris Dessler with Sandpoint Online, and John Wyatt, he's a realtor in Priest River. They're going to be going through all the index cards and finding the best questions, the most questions asked, and kind of handing me the questions as I ask the candidates. So as I said before, if you have a certain question for a certain party or certain race, just try to indicate that on the question. State or county or sheriff's race, that always helps. And I appreciate you all showing up tonight. It's hard work running for office. I've never done it. And I can only imagine how hard it is to face the public all the time as they do. So please show these candidates as much respect as they deserve. We try to run very civil and polite forums with very minimal outbursts from the audience. We try to keep everybody on the issues. So if you would please just kind of maintain a level of decor that way, that we appreciate that. If you have any questions, please raise your hand and Cheyenne will come give you a card. We're going to do a couple of introductions for every candidate, for all the candidates that aren't in contested races, and then we're going to open it up for questions for the candidates that are in contested races. We do have a few people that have said that they cannot show up tonight. Their opponents are here, in fact, and we are going to let their opponents field questions since they are in a contested race. So that's just how that's going to work. Without any further ado, let's see. Is Steve Tanner here? No. Okay, going down the list, the Idaho State Senate, District 1, Steve Tanner, he was not able to make it tonight. So next we have Sean Keogh. You can give Sean a round of applause.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out tonight and giving us this opportunity to talk to you and with you and to answer your questions. In this introductory moment, I would just like to share a little bit about my background. Many of you know me, I know many of you, but there are many new faces here as well. I've lived in Bonner County most of my life now. Been here 37 years, moved here after I graduated from high school. Graduated in Ohio and moved out to Sandpoint, Idaho. My husband and I have raised our family here, and our two sons went through the schools here, and they went to Idaho colleges and are now launched into their careers, one here in state and one out of state. My background is in business management, and as a citizen legislator, I am one of those citizen legislators that works in addition to being of service in the state senate, and my work is with the Logging Contracting Association based in Coeur d'Alene. I have been honored to work with the timber industry for 25 years, salt of the earth folks that produce wealth from the ground and the raw material that makes products that we use every day. As your state senator, I have risen to number 1 in seniority and was just appointed last fall as co-chairman of the Budget Committee. Why does that matter for this area? It matters because it makes sure that our issues get put on the table, get discussed, and get solved. When you look at the completion of the Dover Bridge, the Sandpoint Byway, many transportation projects across the district, When you look at increased funding from schools, for schools from the state government, which reduces the requests for property taxes at the local level, those are just two ways that my position and seniority can help. It'd be an honor and a privilege to continue to serve you and have your vote next Tuesday, May 17th, on the Republican ticket. Sean Keogh, thank you very much.
Now we have Sean's opponent in the primary, Glenn Rohr. Glenn?
Come up. There we go. Hello, everyone. That's okay. Thank you. See, our representatives are useful. That was a compliment. My name is Glenn Rohr. I'm a candidate for the state Senate, Republican candidate. I've lived in this district for 23 years. Before I made Idaho my home, I completed a 20-year career in the military. I joined as an aircraft mechanic, went to college, selected for pilot training, and flew the remaining years as a fighter pilot. Also, during my 20-year career in the Air National Guard, I worked in aerospace another 20 years as an industrial engineer, moved into supervision and management, and ended up as a production manager for the Northrop B-2. When I came to Idaho, I continued in management, worked in a number of companies from Idaho, Washington, and Montana, and retired as a plant manager in 2007. I believe it's important to give your community. That's why when I first moved here, I elected to start a new job as the Planning and Zoning Administrator for Priest River. Along with that, more recently, I've operated as a County Chief Judge for elections and been a member of the Airport Advisory Board in Priest River. Along with my wife, Michelle, we've served long-term members of Priest Lake Search and Rescue, docents at the Bird Air Museum, members of the Priest Lake Chamber of Commerce, and strong supporters of the Priest River Regatta. I'm a constitutional, conservative Republican. I will not vote for any bill that does not have a basis in the Constitution or defies it in any way. I'm a Second Amendment supporter. I first joined the NRA in 1960, and I'm happy to announce that I have an A- rating from the NRA now. I'm a fiscally conservative Republican. I know our government's going broke, printing money they don't have, and I don't appreciate it when our own state government balances our state budget with 30% of federal funds. I'm a states' rights candidate. I want to see the lands returned to the states so that we can use them for our benefit. We can manage them a lot better than the feds can, as was noticed last year in the fires. I support schools and education and want to respect our teachers and allow them to teach professionally without the constraints of Common Core. If you send me to Boise, I will look forward to protecting your freedoms, rights, and opportunities. Please vote for Glenn Rohr, that's May 17th.
Okay, thank you, Glenn. We actually have Steve Tanner now. Steve would like to give an introduction. Steve is running for State Senate, also District 1, he's Democrat.
Yeah, so I'm looking for your vote in November. I'm ahead in the polls so far. Anyway, I wanted to tell you why I'm running, and I'm running because I believe that our republic, as the founders envisioned it, is in great peril today. The Supreme Court last year ruled that they asserted a pretended law by sanctioning gay marriage. This is the same institution that in the 60s ruled that the Bible and prayer should be taken out of the schools, than which it had been in the schools even before our nation was founded. And then in the 70s, it's the same institution that said murder was valid and acceptable in our land. And since that time, we've had nearly 50 million children killed, murdered in that. And this last year's ruling gave some credibility. At least they tried to sanction sodomite marriage. And all of these rulings are great perversions of justice. And to quote the justice has just recently passed away in his dissenting opinion, he says, today's decree says that the ruler of 320 million Americans and the majority of 9 lawyers on the Supreme Court, the opinion in these cases is the furthest extension in fact and the furthest extension one can ever imagine of the court's claimed power to create liberties that the Constitution and its amendments neglected to mention. This practice of constitutional revision by an unelected committee of 9 robs the people of the most important liberty asserted in the Declaration of Independence and won in the Revolution of 1776, the freedom to govern themselves. Our form of government requires that we use and exercise checks and balances, and those holding office need to exercise those checks and balances to keep a proper government. And they must learn what the original intent of the Constitution was, and then use that checks and balance. When an unjust law or regulation is passed or promoted from the executive, legislative, or even the judicial branch, each who took that pledge of public office must stand strong against their usurped authority and their perverted judgment. Our current senator, along with most of Idaho's legislators, voted to cave into the usurped authority of the Supreme Court and voted yes on House Bill 425 that recognized same-sex marriage while kicking the state constitution into the trash.
That's time there, Steve.
Anyway, we need to hold them accountable. Thank you.
Okay, those are the candidates for the District 1 Idaho State Senate. Now we'll have the Idaho State Senate and District 7 candidates. We have Ken Myers running as Democrat, unopposed. Go ahead, Ken.
I'm Ken Myers, and I'm running for State Senate in District 7. District 7 is the district from hell. If you look at it, if you're a resident of Bonner County and live south of the lake and east of 95, you are in District 7. It extends into the Silver Valley, goes over the mountains into Orofino and the Clearwater River, comes up and goes on to the Camas Prairie, and it stops a little bit south of Riggins. Try to go in and canvass that. I grew up, a little bit about myself, I was born in Great Falls, Montana, and I grew up on a wheat farm about 65 miles north of Great Falls. I was the only member of our family to graduate from college. I graduated from Oregon State University and then went to Washington State University, where I received a doctorate in the College of Veterinary Medicine. I then entered the faculty after graduation. I spent 35 years at WSU. Go Cougs. During that time, the first 25 years was done doing research and teaching, and the second 10 years was done doing research, doing teaching and administration. I was the Associate Dean for Academic Affairs of the college. That means I was responsible for the admission and the education of our students. Judy Myers and I came to Sandpoint in 2005 because we love it. We love it here. Unfortunately, we weren't able to bring our kids along because they're all grown and moved away, but they do come and visit. We have 4 children, we have 7 grandchildren, and if I sound a little hoarse or I sneeze or I cough, it's because I went to a family wedding this weekend, and I had 2 of my 4-year-old germ bomb grandchildren running all over me.
That's time, Ken.
That's it?
Time's up.
Vote for Ken Myers. There's more to the story.
Thank you, Ken. And I apologize in advance if I interrupt you. I'm trying to make sure you keep an eye on Susie down there with the card. Both of the Republican candidates from District 7, Carl Crabtree and Cheryl Nuxall, were not able to attend tonight. So we are going to go into the Idaho State Representative race. For District 1A, we have Kate McAllister running as a Democrat, unopposed. Kate?
Thank you very much. My name is Kate McAllister, and I have lived in Sandpoint for 22 years. I'm the mother of 4, and more importantly, I'm the grandmother of 8. My husband has lived here for 42 years. He's a forester and a wildland fire engine boss. I've spent the last 6 years of my career as the president and CEO of the Greater Sandpoint Chamber of Commerce. I believe my life experiences, professional expertise, skills, political philosophy, and my diverse community involvement uniquely qualify me to represent our Northern Idaho community. We, the people, are responsible for the changes in government we want to see, especially at the state and local level. I teach leadership as part of the Leadership Sandpoint program, and on the first day of every class, I tell participants, if there's an issue or concern that you feel you need to address to make our communities better, as a leader, you are obligated to stand up and work towards a viable solution. In other words, work with others and help facilitate the changes needed. District 1 needs a representative focused on the job. Idahoans need to be a priority. I believe we need leadership based on common sense solutions, not partisan or ideological convictions, to bring balance to our political process. This is why I'm running to be your state representative, because we deserve representation that works for all of us. We need to continue growing an economy that works for everyone in Northern Idaho by creating good-paying jobs, and in tandem give our children and grandchildren an education to help them compete in today's job market and who will hopefully decide to stay here and raise their families. Along with a good-paying job and education, I believe all Idahoans should have access to health care. I read this statement the other day. The future prosperity of any community depends on its ability to foster the health and well-being of the next generation. When a community invests wisely in children and families, the next generation will pay that back through a lifetime of productivity and responsible citizenship. I truly believe this. We need to focus on issues pertinent to Idaho and create solutions to benefit all Idahoans and keep our taxes and our government working for us. The time of ideology over lives and economic sense is over. How can we make these changes? Vote. Every vote counts, especially in local politics. Never forget, we are stronger together, and we will make the necessary changes to keep Idaho great for everyone. Vote for Kate in November.
Thank you, Kate. Heather Scott, Republican in the same district, was unable to attend tonight. So we're going to go to District 1B. Bob Carius, running as a Democrat, had not responded to the invitation, so I'm assuming he's not here tonight. Bob, are you here? Okay. So next we have Sage Dixon, running as a Republican. Sage?
Thank you for giving me a stand. Last time I had a cord, I almost ended up in the front row. Thank you all for being here. It is imperative that you participate in this constitutional republic that we have, and hearing these candidates is critical to making an informed decision. I'll probably be pretty brief right now because thankfully the Republican Party has given me a free pass in this primary. I do not have an opponent. I'm thankful for that, but I think it also speaks to my integrity and how I have conducted myself and the fact that I lived up to the promises I made when I ran for this position originally. I presented myself as a statesman and not a politician. Things you've heard before. My interest is the interests of this district and hearing what the citizens of this district want and need. I've been very pleased to work for this district and to give it a strong voice down in Boise. There's a dramatic disparity between what Boise and Southern Idaho thinks needs to happen in this state and what we think needs to happen in this state. And oftentimes, a deaf ear is turned to our issues. I've been very proud and thankful to be able to work on things that directly affect our district here and help our constituents. My work on the Education Committee, I think, has improved opportunity for education, and Clark Fork High School is participating, particularly in something called an Innovation School program that I was happy to speak to on the House floor, and I've helped walk Clark Fork into that process. So it looks like they'll be getting the ability to modify what they're doing out there to suit their purpose so that they're able to keep their identity as an independent school out there. I'm happy to promote STEM issues, our P-TECH issues, and work with those constituents and folks that are pushing those programs, because our industry up here requires that. We need more skilled labor, and in order to keep our economy thriving, that's something I know is important, and so I'm happy to work on those things as well, and transportation issues, and those are the three committees that I'm on. So I've been really blessed to have this opportunity. I think I've done a good job and lived up to what you sent me down there to do, and I look forward to talking to more of you tonight if you have a reason to talk to me or would like to, and then speaking to you more come the fall. It's Sage Dixon, your current State House Representative, CP. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sage. And also in District 1B, we have a write-in candidate. Stephen Howell.
Well, good evening and welcome to this forum, and thank you for the invitation. My name is Stephen F. Howlett, and I'm a write-in candidate and a Democrat. I am running for position, as Ben said, State Legislative District 1, Position B, and I will be serving Bonner and Boundary County when I'm elected. I need you, the voters, to write my name in the write-in box on the ballot May 17th during the Idaho primary. A little bit about myself. I lived in Bonner and Boundary County since 1977, and I worked in the retail lumber industry for 10 years. And I have started my own building and remodeling business in Boundary County, and have been successful for the last 28 years. I'm also proud of my long service in volunteering and working for the community. I worked as an EMTA for Boundary Volunteer Ambulance for 18 years, and I served as the county chairman for the Parks and Recreation Department for 17 years. I've also been a member of the Boundary County Democratic Central Committee for 14 years, and I've served on the board for 12. I've been elected precinct captain up there in Boundary County for 12 years. I'm the only endorsed candidate by both Boundary and Bonner County Central Committees. As far as the economy goes, sure, we'd all like to see new businesses come in, but I think I'm going to dedicate some time for the businesses that are here, like the forestry industry. Why do we always say, hey, we don't need the forestry industry? The people here in Boundary and Bonner County, we count on it. And it's a collaboration between both the state and the federal government to make sure there's enough timber out there. There are other opportunities that we can explore. It's obvious to me that investing in a good educational system to prepare our children for the challenges of the modern world and the modern economy need to be met. It's important that we fight for a living wage, a wage that allows the workers to prosper, in which case all businesses will prosper also. I will work for the continuing health...
That's time, Steve.
Okay, thank you very much. Write in my name, Stephen Howlett.
Thank you, Stephen. Okay, that wraps up the District 1B. We're going to move on to District 7A for the Idaho State Representative. We have Jessica Chilcott running as a Democrat. Jessica?
We got a bit of a height issue between all of us. Hi everybody, thank you all for coming out tonight. So pleased to see the turnout that we've been able to pull together in our little community tonight. My name is Jessica Chilcott, and I'm running as a Democrat for Idaho House of Representatives, District 7CA. And I'm having problems with my allergies, so I'm a little scratchy. I apologize. It's making it hard to breathe through my nose as well. So, sorry. I have lived in Bonner County for 8 years. I am a social worker. I have spent most of the time I've lived in Bonner County working as a case manager, providing services to children and their families with developmental disabilities and serious and persistent mental illness. Currently, I supervise a developmental disabilities program, and I provide therapy as well, mental health counseling therapy to children with mental illness, developmental disabilities, and co-occurring disorders. I made the decision to run for House of Representatives in 2014, so for those of you who've seen my face before, that's why. Because of what I perceive to be an increasing degradation of the mental health services in the state of Idaho, and also significant losses in the services available to the children that in our communities with developmental disabilities. I am your current Bonner County's Democratic State Central Committee woman, so if you have something that you feel needs to go to the Idaho Democratic Party, I would be the person, one of the people that you would be able to talk to about that. I am running unopposed, so I'm going to go ahead and stop talking because there will be plenty of time for us to get to know each other between now and November. Again, thank you all for coming out tonight.
Thanks, Jessica. Priscilla Giddings is running as a Republican. She was unable to attend tonight. So we are moving on to District 7A. Shannon McMillan, running as a Republican. Shannon?
Just right size. Hello, everybody. I grew up in a blue-collar working class family and am all too aware of the challenges facing today's working families. My father worked for the railroad as a car inspector and as welder, and my husband was a journeyman mechanic who worked mainly in the mining industry and who during his life spent most of it working away from home due to the state of our natural resource economy. Politically, I consider myself a strong conservative who will put her constituents' interests first and who will provide a strong voice for rural North and North Central Idaho in a legislative currently dominated by Southern Idaho interests. Even though we've gained a few inroads, we still have a lot of work to do. We still need someone who will listen to the people, even when it may be unpopular with party leaders or business or special interests. First and foremost, this means doing all we can as a state to reduce regulations and dependence on federal money. We need to reopen our forests and timber reserves to reestablish our logging industry, as well as keeping environmentalists in check so our agriculture industry, our dairy farmers, ranchers can continue to prosper and to provide and prosper. Here's a little of my legislative work and accomplishments. Recipient of the Idaho All-Star Award from the Food Producers, third in Idaho Freedom Foundation. I'm endorsed by Idaho Chooses Life, endorsed by the NRA. I supported establishing a rural education support pilot program. I voted against the gas tax and registration fee increases, and I voted for permitless carry. I support our constitutional right to keep and bear arms, legislation which will produce and revitalize our natural resource industries, fiscal policies which will ease the burden on working class while making Idaho a friendly place to do business. I oppose heavy-handed federal meddling in our state environmental, regulatory, and healthcare system.
That's time. Sorry.
You can vote for me May 17th.
Thanks, Shannon. Okay, District 7B, both of the candidates, Paul Shepard and Chris Stenek, both running as Republicans, will not be able to attend tonight. So that wraps up our state races. At this time, I'd like to ask any of the candidates running unopposed if they'd like to leave the stage and take a comfortable seat in the audience. They are more than welcome to. And now we're going to enter the County Commissioner and Sheriff races. Starting with the County Commissioner, District 2, Mr. Todd Sudik, running as a Republican.
Good evening. Thanks for coming out. My name is Todd Sudik. I'm your current District 2 Commissioner, Bonner County, Republican. Just a little bit about my background. I've lived here 35 years. My career has spanned mostly military and aviation. I spent 22 years in the Marine Corps as a pilot, retired as a lieutenant colonel in 1993. Overlapping that was an airline career. I retired as a captain with U.S. Airways in 2007, after 30 years. So what does a county commissioner do? Well, we take care of the day-to-day business of the county. We take care of the budget, which is an important part of Bonner County. We had a budget this last year, had a zero levy increase because we lived within our means and we crafted a budget that matched our income. We also take care of the day-to-day operations in terms of answering questions from constituents who call. And it could be road issues, it could be navigating the county. How do I get to a planning and zoning issue? So I have done everything I promised when I ran for commissioner last time. I tried to run the county with my fellow commissioners in a business-like, professional, fiscally conservative way. I also promised that I would attack some of the issues surrounding planning and zoning, and we've done that. We're trying to protect property owner rights. We've tried to slim down the way the county operates in terms of you trying to navigate the system, build houses, and also try to make it less expensive. I also have a business background where I own 4 businesses, so I'm well aware of the challenges facing business. And we have passed a resolution to give tax breaks to bring new businesses into Bonner County. If we're re-elected, I promise that I will do the same thing I've been doing, run the county in a fiscally conservative way, business-like manner, and with no drama. I'd like you to re-elect me as your County Commissioner, District 2, Todd City. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. And we have District 2, Todd's opponent, Jeff Connolly, running as a Republican. Jeff? Thank you. And one quick reminder out there, I'm hearing cell phones. If you could make sure you silence those, that would be much appreciated.
Good evening, and thank you for all coming tonight. I'm Jeff Connolly, and I'm running for Bonner County Commissioner. I have lived in Bonner County my whole life, and I have worked here. I have earned a reasonable living as a logger for 39 years. I've raised my family here. I've lived in Priest River my whole life. I would like to serve you as your Bonner County Commissioner because I think that there's some changes that could be made to calm down the way we're doing business right now. I think we're entirely too focused on trying to race around and change everything. I think that obviously there's ways to change things, and I think that's through collaboration and working together with the department heads and coming up with solutions to the issues instead of firing people and changing the planning and zoning around without proper participation by the constituents. I think that Bonner County is a great place to live. Like I say, I've lived here all my life. I would like to see it continue to be a great place to live, and I would like to see the politics taken out of Bonner County politics. I think that we're much too small of a county to make this a political thing. We just need to get together and work together to accomplish the goals that all of us want to achieve. I would appreciate your vote on May 17th. Thank you.
Now we have the Bonner County Commissioner race, District 3, Mr. Dan McDonald, running as a Republican. Dan? Yes, it is.
My name's Dan McDonald, and I'm actually here for the dance team tryouts. My name's Dan McDonald, and I want to tell you a little bit about myself, because I know there's people here that don't know me. First came to Sandpoint 36 years ago with my wife's family. All my wife's relatives are from here and still live here, and fell in love with the place. One of the things I fell in love with, obviously, was the beauty of the surroundings, but I also fell in love with the culture that was here and how it was neighbor always helping neighbor, and you kind of did away with the big city coldness. The Bonner County Commissioner's job is really, in a nutshell, it's a group of 3 that run a $55 million corporation. So I think it's important to know if people are qualified to run a $55 million corporation. So let me tell you a little bit about my business background. I was, prior to work for the company I work now, I took a commercial roofing company in California, took them from $1.5 million in sales every year to $15 million a year with over 100 employees. I did that in 5 years. I was recruited by the company I work for now. They gave me the opportunity to move here 20 years ago and run a franchise where I actually run about anywhere between $12 and $20 million worth of commercial work a year, and I deal with roofing contractors, and if you can deal with roofing contractors, you can pretty much deal with anybody. My vision for the county, and what I've seen over the years, is I've got 3 kids and 4 grandkids, and none of my kids can live here. They just can't afford it. There's no jobs here. There's no jobs that actually pay very well. So my vision is to try to create the environment where we can actually bring in the right kind of business while keeping the culture intact. Create jobs that pay well so that my kids and your kids can afford to live and stay here. So we stop having the culture drain. We have a very unique culture. And every time one of our kids has to leave here to go work somewhere else or live somewhere else, we lose a part of that culture. So my goal is to actually try to maintain the culture and grow our way of life here. My name's Dan McDonald. Vote for me.
opponent will be Mr. Lewis Rich, running as a Republican. Lewis?
First of all, thanks for coming out. My name is Louis Rich. I migrated to North Idaho 36 years ago, but I came here legally. I'm married to my wife for 49 years. I raised 2 kids here, put them through school, and I have 3 grandchildren. I've also experienced Bonner County economics with hands-on, first-hand information. I know how it works. I survived here in a business of my own successfully with employees and all the expenses of raising kids and putting them through school, and I have no regrets as far as Bonner County and what it's done for me. I have a lot of volunteer history as a volunteer with the City of Sandpoint Fire Department, Northside Fire Department, Bonner County Search and Rescue, and various other things, including Little League coach. And I have over 50 years of cumulative voluntary action that I provided because I loved it here and I wanted to be a positive influence both in the community and to pay them back for what they've done for me. I am running because I disagree with the current board and the previous boards. When we end up with 5 wrongful termination suits, we change the category of unelected department heads to an at-will employee. We get rid of the planning zoning director and her immediate, basically her next in command. Something's going on that doesn't make sense. To have 5 wrongful termination suits, 1 which is already settled, and a bunch of more that I believe could happen, is an issue and a symptom of what's going on at the county level right now that I have a serious problem with. I will work to change that attitude and change the employee relations that they have now that are the most strained that I've ever seen them. And if you want that to happen, vote for me on May 17, Louis Rich. Thank you.
Okay, that wraps up the Bonner County Commissioners for the introductions. Now we just have the Bonner County Sheriff's race. Sheriff Wheeler, Darrell Wheeler, was unable to attend tonight. So we are going to Terry Ford, Republican, his opponent in the primaries. Terry?
Good evening. Thank you for coming out tonight. My name is Terry Ford, and I'm running for the office of Bonner County Sheriff. First and foremost, I'm a career law enforcement officer. I'm not a polished public speaker, nor am I a career politician. I'm just a man with deep convictions. Know it's time to bring some positive changes to the Sheriff's Office. I've had, with my 35 years of law enforcement experience, I can bring changes back to the Sheriff's Office. One of my visions for the Sheriff's Office is to turn it into one of the most professional departments in the state. There's ways of doing this. There's an accreditation program that you go through the Idaho Chiefs of Police Association. I will aim for that. What I'm trying to do is stop the revolving door, keep our deputies here, give them reason to stay. My training, I started out in Post Falls City. I worked there for about 10 years as a reserve and part-time officer. I attended the Idaho Police Reserve Academy, the Idaho State Police Academy, and I was also post-certified. I retired as a master corporal in Idaho State Police. I've had experience working with the legislature. I co-wrote a law with 2 other officers, the Canine Protection Law, which we did demonstrations in front of the Senate committee, and it was passed unanimously. That was also sponsored by Senator Schroeder. I've had experience in training. I was an FTO. I've experienced in supervisory skills. I've had supervisory training. I've supervised many ISP, Idaho State Police teams, along with other agencies. And I got my signs, so I guess I'm going to have to go. But I would appreciate your vote May 17th. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. That wraps up the introduction portion of the evening, and now we will go right into the question and answer period. So these questions we're going to direct to a specific race. So if a question is for one opponent, the other opponent will have a chance to answer as well, and then both will have a chance to rebut. Before we start, though, I'd like to thank Landon and Beth for helping out. We're actually live streaming this, which is a kind of a technological nightmare, but it's happening. So, hello everybody out there in TV land. We appreciate all the help, you guys. The first question is for Glenn Rohr in the Idaho State Senate race. It says, Glenn, you have stated that you believe Idaho receives too much money from the federal government and want to stop that. How do you make up for those dollars? And you have a minute to talk.
Well, obviously, to make up for those dollars, you're not going to do right away. No federal funding or expenditures are going to be cut off the moment I'm elected. But if you take a look at changing our attitude and studying where we can cut back and how we can better funnel our expenditures, you'll find out that there is a lot of money being wasted by our state government right now. We have, for instance, over 230 commissions and boards and advisory commissions to the governor. A lot of those commissions have governor appointees making 5 to 6 figure salaries. We just voted a new one in. I did not. My opponent voted a new one in this year, to license sign language interpreters, requiring them to have a license up to $1,000 a year. And there'll be appointees on the board running it. I believe there's a better way to run this than just build more government operations and bureaucracies. And by looking at meticulously at the budget, the analysis of the budget, the zero baseline that we need to look at, rather than just accepting a budget with added percentages, there's a whole lot we can do in Boise to cut back and begin cutting back on our federal funding and becoming solvent state. The budget should not be balanced on deficit spending.
Thanks, Glenn. Sean, would you like to repeat the question? Okay, Sean Keel.
This one's much easier, actually, Ben's. I appreciate that. I appreciate the opportunity to answer that question. If we were to suddenly do without federal funding, one example of not taking federal funding in our transportation budget, we would completely be without the amount of funding it takes to plow our highways and fill our potholes, as just one example. We've got examples across the budget. We do zero-based budgeting. We have done zero-based budgeting, and we continue to. We look through every budget with a fine-tooth comb, and there are 20 members of the budget committee, and that's exactly what we do. From the first day after the governor gives his presentation for most of the rest of the session. We don't just accept budgets and do percentages. Sometimes we cut, sometimes we raise. There is an expectation on the part of Idahoans that we will have those services. And the federal government, particularly because Idaho is so much owned and managed by the federal government, has a responsibility to help us fund our roads, help us fund other things in the budget as well. Idaho, with 1.5 million people, simply is too big a land mass to take care of its people, and when some of that land is federal responsibility, we should be taking that money from the feds. And we don't balance our budget with the federal dollars, we balance our state budget, and we look at every expenditure very carefully. Thank you.
And now, Glenn, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond, you can take that if you like.
Well, don't listen to the potholes. Nothing's going to fall apart if we cut back on our government expenditures. Remember a few years ago, we cut back on federal government, and everybody cried things were going to die. Nothing died. I've walked into companies and told them to cut their budget 5%, and we've been more efficient afterwards than ever before. Thank you.
Thanks, Glenn. Sean, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond.
I have also walked into state agencies and cut their budgets 100%. I think you need to take a fiscally conservative and responsible approach to budgeting, not blankets. Yes, every budget needs to be looked at. We need to be fiscally responsible with our tax dollars, and that's exactly what our process does.
Okay, next question is for Sean Keel. What percentage of your campaign contributions comes from corporations versus citizens, and what percentage comes from within Legislative District 1?
I have not done the percentage, but I can tell you with the latest budget report that was just filed yesterday, that overwhelming majority of the number of donors, be those individuals or corporations, which are small mom and pop businesses, or businesses like Idaho Forest Group that employ hundreds of people throughout northern Idaho. The majority, in fact, 190, I believe, out of 300 of those donors were from this area and from northern Idaho. And I'm proud to be able to raise those funds to get the message out, because there have been so many negative things and falsehoods, and it's expensive to combat that. I'm proud of those that have stepped forward and offered fundraisers and helped to raise the money that it takes to campaign. And a good deal of that money does come right here. Those donors are from here, and those donors outside of the area who might be from Kootenai County or other places in the state, they all have a tie to us in one form or fashion. I'd be happy to go through that with anybody who would like to. Thank you.
The answer to the question is zero for me. I do not accept contributions from corporations, businesses, special interest organizations, PACs, or lobbyists. That being said, my opponent in 2014 was the single largest recipient of contributions from those organizations, over $80,000. And that's why I've said that my campaign will not accept them. I will go to Boise with no strings attached. I will vote my conscience for the people, and I will maintain that status while I'm there. Thank you.
Sean, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond.
Thank you. I have in my possession just one copy of a letter that went out last fall from my opponent to PACs. And I got several phone calls from those PACs, people that work with those PACs, saying, who is it that's running against you? We've received a letter of request asking specifically, and I would gladly share that with anybody. You know, the PACs that I've received money from are the realtors here in this community, the bankers here in this community, the contractors that build things here in this community. They've pooled their resources and they've encouraged their statewide PACs, of which they're a member, to send donations here because it's important to them here in this community that the organizations that they put money into that represent them here locally, they want responsible representation. They want someone that's paying attention to the details and taking a pragmatic approach. Thank you.
Thanks. 30 seconds.
I think Senator Keogh was referring to a letter that went out last year in May, the early part of my campaign. Yes, I did send out soliciting campaign contributions from her contributors. I got some, and I returned them, and I've since changed, right after that, changed my stand and accept none. I think it's best to stay hands-off on that, because I think people really contribute, companies, organizations contribute those dollars to bottom line buy votes. And mine is not for sale.
Thank you, Glenn. All right, for our next question is for the sheriff's race. Carrie? Sheriff Wheeler has done a lot of work on improving training for officers with regards to members of the public with mental illness. What is your position on the role of law enforcement with individuals with mental illness? And you have a minute.
Well, my position on that is I think every officer, not only the sheriff's office, but any police officer working out there should be trained in well, it's through the NAMI program. It's the Crisis Intervention Program. It teaches officers how to recognize and handle people with mental illnesses. You get into a situation where it could get pretty hectic, and if the person's trained, he can usually tell if this is due to mental illness or due to some type of alcohol or drugs or things like that. And you stand a better chance of talking them down without any injuries and without lawsuits and things like that. And then you can get them into the right program to help them out.
Thank you. Okay, for the next question, this is for District 3 Commissioner candidates. Let's see, we'll take Dan McDonald first. Since Mr. Rich is a Northside Fire Commissioner, can both candidates comment on the permanent levy override for Northside Fire, which triples the present levy? And you have a minute, please.
Okay. I've got a concern about the Northside Fire District. It does triple the levy. It's always been an all-volunteer fire department, and I think they've done a very good job. In fact, I was reading the content of the levy on the ballot, and it says to make them more efficient, more responsive, and I'm thinking, are they less efficient now and less responsive? So I'm not sure what, but it actually triples the levy amount. We're facing the triple with that. We're facing a potentially $56 million levy from the school district. It's just becoming a burden for all taxpayers, and I unfortunately don't support the new fire levy.
And Lou Rich, you have a minute, please. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No, I understand it very well. As a current Northside Fire Commissioner, basically it is not an all-volunteer department. We have 2 full-time people and 1 part-time. And we have some of our volunteers who have put in a lot of effort into making our department what it is, which is, I believe by definition, one of the finest volunteer-based fire departments in the county. We opted to put this to the ballot, to the electorate, to the people who vote. If they wanted us to step up to a higher degree of response, more throughout our particular fire district, to have more full-time paid people that could respond in a matter of minutes rather than sometimes could be up to an hour depending on where the fire is. We decided to put it up to the voters as a group, and it took all 3 commissioners. We did vote in the affirmative to put it on the ballot that allowed the taxpayers with a 2/3 majority to establish a new levy rate that would sunset in 3 years.
Dan, would you like a 30-second rebuttal? You like that?
To me, the issue is it's going from 2 full-time firefighters and volunteers to 12 full-time firefighters and volunteers. I've been happy with the response. I live in the North Side District. I've been very happy with the response whenever there's been an issue. I don't understand the increase.
Louis, would you like to respond?
I mean, I do.
Okay. All right, the next question is for all of the commissioner candidates. We will start with Todd Sudik. NIC has an outreach campus in Sandpoint, but we are not in NIC's taxing district. Would you support or oppose extending the tax district if it would allow expansion of NIC's classes and campuses here?
We've discussed the NIC issue. Part of the problem is that we have met with NIC, and we have kind of a chicken and egg situation where NIC has not put campuses up here in the past when we've asked them to, and not operated a campus of any kind. We lost a campus where they were going to establish a aircraft mechanic school up at our airport, and we planned on it, and they ended up putting it down in Kootenai County. So we kind of go, well, why are we considering supporting something when the NIC does not take the initiative to come and establish a campus in our county? So that's the debate that we're having. We do support NIC from the standpoint that Bonner County does support by a $300 grant for tuition students from Bonner County that are attending NIC. So it's still, I can't tell you today that I would support it because of the situation that exists with NIC, but it's something that we consider in the future.
Thanks, son. Jeff, I'd like to have a minute here. Would you like me to repeat the question?
No.
Okay.
So I guess I would have to be more informed on what this would do to the tax rate of our constituents here in the county. But overall, I would support having any kind of after-school training or after high school training for job quality training these people to get good jobs, good paying jobs, and stay in this area. I think that it's important to team with somebody like NIC. I don't know what the issue is and why they haven't come here in the past, but I think it could be resolved with a couple of phone calls and maybe a cup of coffee. Thank you.
Thanks, Jeff. Dan McDonald, would you like to take a minute?
NIC is actually one of my clients, as a matter of fact. Most of their funding comes from the state. If there is a situation where the county needs to put funding in to create, specifically if it's a program where we create post-high school job training that would, for instance, help out with our aerospace industry, be something worth looking at. But again, I'd have to know more about the program and more about the county's participation level.
Thanks, Sam. And Louis, if you'd like to take a minute.
Well, I have a standard designated subjects credential in vocational education. So I'm not sure exactly what all is being discussed regarding NIC, but if we can get kids educated vocationally who have no desire to go on to further college education and beyond, I would support it. To me, it's a no-brainer for me with my background. I support vocational education.
I'd just like to point out that last question came in from an online listener, which is awesome. Really high tech there, aren't we? Okay, the next question is for District 7 Senate candidate. Let's see. That is for Mr. Crabtree. Well, you know what? We don't have any candidates up here for this question, so.
District 7 is Shannon.
Shannon's, 7A representative, I'm sorry. So this one's for you, Shannon. There you are. Would you support a bike path, Coeur d'Alene, or waste time trying to put Bibles in schools, which is unconstitutional? A minute to respond to that.
Well, let me put it this way. We can do both. That's all I've got to say about that.
Okay, this next question is for Mr. Hallett. What is your stand on gun control? You have a minute to respond.
Well, I probably won't get any rebuttal for this. Well, I support the Second Amendment as written by the Constitution, like most people should. I've been allowed to carry concealed for the last 10 years. Thank you very much.
Okay, this next question is for Sean Keogh. Why did you vote for Clagstone when Stimson had donated thousands to Otter PAC and your campaign? Do you not know about conflict of interest implications?
Thank you very much for that question. Stimson Lumber Company, it's no secret, they're a major employer here in this legislative district. They're also a major landowner as well. And as chairman of the budget committee, and a minute may not work, but our responsibility as a budget committee is to take the requests that come from the governor. We can either accept them or reject them or modify them, but we must deal with them. That project is an important project. A majority of people in this county have supported it over the years that it's been under discussion. And I did declare on the Senate floor, it's a matter of public record, a potential for a conflict of interest. I did not make the motion in the committee to move that piece of legislation forward, and I did not carry it on the Senate floor. And I was very open about the impact that it had on our district and that it was in our district, and all of that is a matter of public record. And again, it's a win-win project for this community, and it's one that's been under consideration and discussion for at least 6 years now through several boards of commissioners. It's unfortunate that this board of commissioners that didn't have all the information that they needed, but again, it was an important issue, and I did declare a potential for conflict of interest.
Thank you. Glenn, like a minute?
Well, I cannot talk for Senator Keogh's conflicts of interest. But I would like to say just a word about Stimson Lumber. Stimson Lumber and any other company or private person should be able to sell or do whatever they want with their property as long as it follows county plans and appropriate law. Now, that being said, as a senator, I would look at this, I would ask this, why are we sending $7 million to a private company just to buy an easement, and we don't know exactly what that easement is going to end up being? I have a copy of the agreement, I have a copy of the legal agreement when Senator Keogh passed it, and that was not finished. So we had a meeting at the County Board of Commissioners the day before she passed it, with over 100 people attending, and they did not know what was going on, and there were more questions asked than answered, and the representative from the Idaho Department of Lands apologized for not coordinating better and letting it, quote, fall through the crack. So I just feel there's a lot of questions about this issue before we pass it, and I would prefer it passed muster through the population, the people first. Thank you.
Thanks, John. John, would you like 30 seconds to respond?
I would. Again, this topic has been under discussion for at least 5 or 6 years here in this community. It's had an incredible amount of vetting. And also, this is easement that's to the benefit of the sportsmen of this community and allows recreational access. It also allows the company to continue to harvest and manage its timberlands. And the money comes from and I should say that it is spending authority based upon whether or not a conservation easement is ultimately signed. That is what passed, the spending authority, not, so if the easement falls apart, there will be no expenditure.
I just want to say that I support easements and using land properly and managing it properly. I just want to point out again, there are too many questions about this, and they had not been answered, and they should. And I think that's what we need to do as a people, look at everything and decide what's best for us. Thank you.
Okay, just another reminder, if you would like to ask a question of your candidates, please raise your hand and Cheyenne will come and get you a card. And also out there in internet TV land, you can also use the chat function to ask a question. Okay, for the sheriff's race, what constitutional amendment do you feel is the most important? Terry, you have a minute for that.
Well, I'm 100% for the Second Amendment to the Constitution. I think the new law they just passed is probably one of the better laws they passed. The reason for that is because with the people carrying concealed, when you get out in the county, you can carry concealed legally. If you happen to drive into the city, then you're illegal. And it should be the same all over the county, all over the state. I do support the Second Amendment.
Thank you, Terry. We have another question for Sean Keogh. Please explain your stance on legislation which is not in compliance with the Idaho Constitution and/or the U.S. Constitution.
I don't know if there's a specific bill or issue at hand, but I would tell you that I look at every bill and try to make a determination and do research on whether or not it's within the Idaho Constitution or the U.S. Constitution, and act accordingly. Thank you.
Well, we have a minute to respond.
Well, I can think of a specific bill that should bother every one of us that she voted for. It's Special Session House Bill 1. Special Session House Bill 1 was voted by special session last year that Governor Otter called. It specifically brings foreign hate convention law into our courts of Idaho. It also very clearly states within the bill, if you read it, that the law of the foreign country governs. These are Idaho courts, not unconstitutional, because there's a loophole in our federal constitution about bringing foreign law in. It is certainly against the intent of the Constitution and should never have happened. I plan on repealing and working hard to get rid of it.
30 seconds.
House Bill 1 makes sure that absent parents live up to their fiscal responsibility, whether they are in this state, the state next to us, across the country, or across the world. It makes sure that those absent parents pay their share, and it makes sure that they do so that taxpayers, you and I, don't pick up the bill for that child because one parent is absent and not taking care of their fiscal responsibility. And in the bill that I've read, line for line, word for word, American citizens are to be processed by due process of American law.
Well, evidently, we both read the bill and understand it differently. So I suggest everyone here go read the bill. Go to the Idaho legislature site, look up House Bill 1, read it page per page. It's about 34 pages. You will find definition in there defining our courts as tribunals processing foreign court law. Period. Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn. The next question is for Jeff Connolly. Jeff, how much of your campaign contributions come from forest industry and environmental groups? And you have a minute to respond, and Todd, you'll go after.
Well, I can't put a number to it, but I do have a lot of friends in the forest industry, and I guess if the guys on my crew count, then, I guess they're in the forest industry. What I do know is that over the years, I've made a lot of friends, and they have supported me, and I would expect them to. I mean, I stand for them. I'm here to lobby for them and try to keep our jobs that we've had forever and protect those jobs and hopefully expand on those jobs through more collaboration and better communication. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Todd, a minute.
Well, I haven't done the math, but I would say less than 5% came from anybody associated with the forest industry. So I guess if that's the question, that's my answer.
Jeff, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond. Would you like 30 seconds, Todd? Okay. Moving on to the next question. This one's for all the county commissioners. So we'll start with Todd. How important are property rights, and do you grasp the spirit and intent of federal versus state and county property rights? And you have a minute to respond.
Well, property rights are extremely important to myself and, in fact, all of the commissioners. And we have made some progress in returning property rights to the property owners and reducing the paternalism in our current planning and zoning. Trying to reduce it, we've started. The interesting portion of that question is that we're bound by state statute. We're not bound by federal statute. I really am not in favor of taking, and I don't care whether it's the county, the state, or the federal government, but we're bound by state statute. So whatever we do in the county to help protect property rights, we have to do it in the state statute. But I think by eliminating the paternalism, by eliminating some of the more onerous restrictions on the development of your property, the county is going to go a long way to reducing the impingement on your property rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Jeff, if you'd like to speak to that, and let me know if you'd like me to repeat the question.
Property rights are very important to everybody in this room. I feel like it's a two-part question. There's the property rights of the person that's developing their property and the right that they have to do what they want with their property. But there's also the right of the person that lives next door and the person that lives down the street. So I like the buzzword, personal responsibility. Everybody's talking about it, but when I see personal responsibility, 14 and a half years as a priest or a councilman, I know that doesn't count for everybody. There's always somebody out there that you have to force to do the right thing. So I say there's two sides to property rights. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff. Dan? You have a minute.
I believe property rights are supreme. Now, like Jeff said, I think you should be able to do whatever you want on your own property as long as it doesn't impact your neighbor. Where this comes into play, as far as property rights go, is that you can actually draw a straight line from the current comprehensive plan and the ordinances that support it to a loss of property rights, to high unemployment here in Bonner County, and the inability for businesses to move in. I think the current commissioners are doing a good job of starting to rewrite some of those pieces of the comprehensive plan, and I'm all for that, and we'll continue to do such.
Thank you, Dan. And Louis, you have a minute to respond.
Well, I was a county commissioner when the comprehensive plan we're now operating under was developed after several years of work with the guidance of a very experienced real estate attorney. We also plagiarized several comprehensive plans from different states and different counties that would mirror what we have here. Absolutely, when we got done with that project, it was a living document designed to be changed when we found out things didn't work the way we had intended. Why it hadn't been looked at before now, I don't know, but to require the planning and zoning director and her associate to not abide by the comprehensive plan and ultimately leading to their firing because they wouldn't break those rules, when you have the ability as a board of three to change those rules and then ask them to enforce it, I don't understand that type of logic.
Candidates also have a 30-second rebuttal if they'd like. Todd, start with you.
We, as current county commissioners, have not violated the comprehensive plan. I gotta say that straight up. In terms of the current comprehensive plan, I agree with my other opponent over here, Louis Rich, in that it was imported. It was imported from Issaquah, Washington, one of the most liberal counties in the state of Washington, if not the most liberal. It wasn't written for Bonner County. I have a copy of it in legislative form where all the references to Issaquah County were scratched out and Bonner County was substituted. What we need is a plan that fits Bonner County.
I also know a little bit about the comp plan. I've been studying it myself. So in 2012, it was revisited. In 2013, it was those changes were adopted. Now, there's plenty of things that could be done to make it better and should be done. That's what it's all about. If you find some stuff that doesn't work, please change those things on a yearly basis, or at least every 2 years. Let's look at it from a standpoint of let's get the people involved and see what they want. Let's not just make these decisions on our own thing.
I think one of the most important jobs as a county commissioner is you have to be able to visualize every ordinance you create, every rule you change or create, and see how that's going to affect the Bonner County citizens in the future. I think too many times we have folks that get in there and they just fail to say, hey, this works today, but what are the onset ramifications in the future? I think that's one of the things I'm going to bring to the office, is I'll be able to look at issues that we're looking at today and go, 10 years from now, is this going to be positive or negative? Certainly it's been negative.
I believe I clearly stated we had the foresight to realize that this thing wasn't set in stone. It was a living document. It absolutely was discussed with the possibility of things changing in the future when they didn't work the way we intended. What's the issue? If you design it that way as a living document and allow those changes in the language so that they can be done to facilitate what you want to happen in your county, why don't you go in that direction? Why would you do what they're doing?
This is for all the candidates running for state level offices. Idaho has, and we will start with, Shannon. Idaho has serious problems with education and the economy. Only 20% of high school graduates are deemed college ready, and we lead the nation in minimum wage jobs per capita. Can you speak to how you would address these problems? And you have a minute.
Minute's not quite long enough. Well, most of the kids that graduate from high school, a lot of them they don't want to go to university. So let them do whatever else they want to do. Let them go to vocational school, let them go to other classrooms. For living wage, what's wrong with the wage we have now? We have to look at the way that the people are paying them. They're paying them as their worth. If they're just starting into a job, then they deserve less money than a person who has more expertise at the job.
Thank you. Next we have Stephen Howe. Would you like me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Idaho has serious problems with education and the economy. Only 20% of high school graduates are deemed college ready, and we lead the nation in minimum wage jobs per capita. Can you speak to how you would address these problems?
Well, it's a difficult question to answer because it takes ambition to get ahead in life. If our schools are underfunded, and it starts at the state level, and you don't teach vocational occupations, how do you expect your children to know and to prosper? It's easy to get a job. Okay, I've gotten several of them. And then you go on and you work yourself. You have to have the ambition to do that. As far as the minimum wage goes, that's a starting point. A minimum wage only sets the bar for learning the basics of a simple job. After you've been on a job for 6 months, you deserve some sort of incentive to keep it going. It's a hard question to answer, and I don't have it right now. Thank you.
Thank you. And Glenn, you have a minute.
Well, regarding the economy, the first and best thing we can do is get the state of Idaho to stop competing with private enterprise. We need to also look at all our bills and regulations and get rid of the red tape and allow business entrepreneurs to flourish. I'm a businessman, I want to do this, I want to bring jobs to North Idaho, not just Boise. Regarding education, I have 2 children that graduated from Priest River Lamona High School. They had no issues. I had no issues. I always thought it was a great school. And I think it's because I taught my children to respect the teachers. We need to support our teachers, ask them to teach the curriculum without Common Core demanding them to perform these other acts. And regarding education in total, I support homeschooling, I support private schools, charter schools, and I would very much like to bring vocational and technical schools into District 1 to help our children get jobs. Just a degree won't get you a job. There are many other types of jobs you need to train for and fill. Thank you.
Thank you. It is an important question, and a couple of things that I've been involved in since I've been honored to be the state senator is to work with teachers and parents and education stakeholders to improve our system. One of the things that we did this year was invest in making sure that our students at 3rd grade read at 3rd grade level, and if they don't, then we have funded an investment so that intervention can occur to help bring those students up to grade level by that 3rd grade. Because studies show us that if we don't do that, each year it'll get worse for that student and their likelihood of success in the future it diminishes greatly. And so we are trying to make some improvements along that lines. And also we have expanded investment just this year in increasing opportunities and slots in our vocational technical program. We call them career technical now. And we have added slots across the state And that funding will also help Clark Fork, Bonner Sperry, Priest River, and Sandpoint, and that will help those students that aren't going to go on to college.
Thank you. Starting with Shannon, if you'd like 30 seconds to respond or what? No? Okay. Stephen, would you like 30 seconds or more?
Oh,
Stephen?
I'm sorry. I didn't know I had to be, I'm sorry.
No, Stephen first, Glenn. Hold on just a second.
I'm good, thank you.
You're good to go? Okay, go ahead, Glenn. If you'd like 30 more seconds.
Is it?
You're good.
Well, I'm glad to have the 30 seconds because Senator Kelo mentioned putting money into third graders to read. I prefer, rather than just throwing money into the situation, understanding what the root cause is. We all went to school, we all learned to read. Why do we have a problem with our third graders right now? I suspect, but I'm not 100% sure, that it could be because our professional teachers are not allowed enough time to work with them. They have to do too many other projects these days to teach them to be politically correct and stop bullying. I think they need to get back to reading, writing, and arithmetic and allow our teachers to teach their skills. Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. If you'd like 30 more seconds. Okay, moving on to the next question. This one is for Senator Keogh from the online world. Senator Keogh, why did you support a bill to lower income tax on the top wage earners in Idaho, but would not allow a bill to go forward that lowered it for all of U.S. workers? Isn't that cronyism? And you have a minute to respond.
So the U.S. workers part it kind of tells me that maybe that question was more at a congressional level seat. The state Senate wouldn't deal with that. I am supportive. I have voted to decrease taxes across the board in the income tax. I've worked to successfully increase the homeowner's exemption. I've worked successfully to take the first $100,000 of the personal property tax off. And I am continuing to work on taking the sales tax off of food. And so I do not serve on the local government and taxation committee, so I had no say over what taxation bills were heard or weren't heard. So I hope that's helpful. Thank you.
Go ahead, Glenn, if you'd like to respond in a minute.
Since I didn't vote on the bill, I'll just take taxes in general. The bill, I believe, was referenced, drops taxes from 7.4 to 7.3%. But I have to tell you, everybody, it doesn't change anything because we're still the second highest taxed in the state of the nation. Only our Oregon has a higher tax rate than that. There are lots of things we need to look at in our taxes. For instance, Senator Keel voted on a bill last year to increase taxes for fuel, for your licenses, licensing fees, and license registration fees. A bill that will bring in about $125 million estimated to the state. I would not vote for that. There are many tax bills that come through, and I can tell you this, that for me to vote on a tax increase, it's going to be a very necessary tax increase. I believe there's other ways to run the government, to find the money that we're squandering and sending to special interest operations. Thank you.
30 seconds.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity for that. Yes, I did vote to increase the fuel taxes and the registration fees, and it does raise $95 million. That's out of my pocket, that's out of your pocket. We have a $500 million a year backlog in maintenance of our roads and in constructing things, like the Long Bridge up to Sago as one example, the MacArthur Curve as another example, Highway 57 and 2 in Priest River. $500 million. We did a little bit, and that was fiscally conservative, but it is needed. Unfortunately, sometimes you have to pay a tax to get the work done. And then my record again, I have cut the personal property tax, and I increased the homeowner's exemption. And so what I do is I look at each issue and taxation and take it seriously, but know that we do have a responsibility to keep our infrastructure up, and there is an expectation that we do that.
Thank you. Glenn, 30 seconds.
Just a real quick notice on taxes. Pardon me. Lobbyists seem to achieve favors that other people do not. This is what I object to. We have over 22 major tax exemptions. The state gets $1.5 billion in the 6% sales tax. There's $2.25 billion they do not collect because elected representatives listen to lobbyists and give them exemptions. I prefer a level, fair playing field. Thank you.
Okay, and the next question is for Dan McDonald. Dan, draw the line. Can you cite one specific example of how the current comp plan has led to the loss of specific jobs? And you have a minute.
Sure. Let's talk about zoning. State of Idaho standard for ag is 5 acres. Depending on where you are in the county, it could be 10, 20, or 40. I can talk about a gentleman over in Priest River that took him 7 years and $37,000 just to split his property. I can talk about the couple here north of Sandpoint who originally bought a 10-acre parcel with a plan to split it into 2 5-acre parcels. They went to planning and zoning in advance and said, can we do this? And they said, yes. The comp plan changed that. They were planning on selling the other 5-acre parcel to put their daughters through college. Now they are finding financial hardship because they're having to come out of pocket. This is all due to the comp plan.
Louis, would you like me to repeat the question?
Broken record. When you design a comp plan that's a living document that you can change when you find there's deficiencies or things that didn't work out like you planned, change it. That's what it's designed to be able to do with it.
Would you like 30 seconds additional? Okay. All right, moving right along. This one comes in from online. Question for Terry Ford. What are your feelings on the John Arnold situation from last summer? John Arnold being the veteran that the DA wanted to give up guns after having a stroke. Do you agree with how Sheriff Wheeler handled it? 1 minute.
Well, I agree. I don't agree with the way it was handled. Granted, there was a problem there. What I read the report on that was this gentleman had a stroke. He was having some problems getting around. They were checking to see if he was able to take care of himself, his bills and things like that. I think for one thing, there's no due process, there's no law. There was no due process there. There was nothing stating that they had given any type of psychological evaluation or anything. And from what I've read, everything said they were, the big thing was they were going to check them. Yes, if they were going to take these guns without due process, I would have been the first one there.
Thank you. This is a question for all the county commissioners. We'll start with you, Todd. What programs would you initiate, I believe, to help Bonner County to be more environmentally sustainable? And you have a minute.
Bonner County has a natural resource committee, and what the natural resource committee does is develop, and they have developed a portion for the comp plan, which is a natural resources plan for Bonner County. And we follow this plan in order to ensure that anything that we do, any ordinances we pass that have to do with the comp plan or they're influenced by the comp plan are environmentally friendly. So this environmental assessment that the Natural Resources Committee has done, and it's required by the state as to be part of the comp plan, is a component that ensures that anything we do in terms of passing ordinances meet a minimum standard, if not above that, to ensure that we are environmentally, we operate in an environmentally friendly way. And so I think Bonner County has done a great job, and we have, in working with our partners with IDL and the Fish and Game and so forth, we have a high rating in terms of our ability to pass ordinances that are environmentally friendly.
Thank you. Jeff, you have 1 minute.
Again, I think this all comes back to collaboration. I think that all parties involved on both sides should come up with the rules that govern. I don't think this is a job of necessarily 3 people that are sitting in a room that are going to be able to make the ultimate decision. I think that there's a group of people that have a lot of input if you just listen, and hopefully we can make the rules that make sense but also protect the environment.
Thank you. Dan, next to go, 1 minute.
I would echo what Commissioner Sudik just said, and in addition, what I would do is I would institute sustainable design in everything we do in the county. In a nutshell, sustainable design is looking at building components specifically and looking at their life cycle cost. I think too many times we cut corners and go with the cheapest route on building components only to find out we have to replace them within 10, 15 years, when we should be looking more long range and replacing these components after 50 or 60 years. I'm in the roofing industry, so I'm already involved in that, so it'll be an easy turnover. But this will allow us to reduce landfill. It'll allow us to save taxpayer money because the systems last longer and have a much lower life cycle cost. So that'd be something I'll be pushing for.
Thank you. And Louis, you have 1 minute.
Well, I believe that we have the advisory committees that we have within the county system to advise our county commissioners are a very, very valuable asset. The things that I would like to see possibly even more closely monitored are items dealing with our lake water, our sewer systems and their management, along with septic tanks. And the reason I have that observation is I can remember years back traveling the lake in a boat when there was a lot of ice around the shore areas, completely around the lake. And ironically, there was some water coming into the lake from the side hill that had melted all the ice off the snow and running down into the lake, indicating to me very clearly, because it was right in front of the residents, we had a failed septic system. There's a lot of things like that that have happened in the past. I think there's more awareness out to try to keep those from happening, but we need to really watch our water quality issues, and this lake is a valuable resource that if we kill it, we're done.
Thank you. Todd, you'd like 30 seconds to respond?
Personally, I'm an environmentally responsible individual. I've had the NRCS come out to my property, and I live on the water, and evaluate my property to make sure that I'm in compliance with all the recommendations necessary to protect the water. And I got an A+ rating on my property. So I am very, very conscious of the environmental implications of whatever we pass here in Bonner County in terms of ordinances. And I would like to say that all of you out there need to take a look at your property individually and make sure that you do the same thing to make sure that it is environmental compliance. Thank you.
I think I would echo that. This is a personal responsibility thing. You should be well aware of what you're doing to the property that you're on and the properties around you, the rivers, the creeks. It's a good idea to get on top of it. I think there's also opportunity to do recycling in the county that hasn't been pushed. I think we can do better. Thank you.
I want to give you a quick story about my commitment to protecting the lake. We live out on Sunnyside. There was a developer that came in and wanted to put in some new homes, which was fine, but then he also wanted to put a 2 million gallon sewer lagoon right next to the lake. He was going to irrigate on anaerobic soils, and if you know what anaerobic soils are, they don't actually drain water, the water runs off. And so we quickly found that to be an issue. I formed a group called Okaloo, the Oakland Citizens for Appropriate Land Use. We fought the developer just because of the sewer lagoon. I provided him an option. He chose not to take it. We won. No sewer lagoon.
Well, I believe that truly environmentalism is an educational process. I have not met one individual in Bonner County that I've become friends with or have gotten to know on a regular basis that is not basically an environmentalist if you explain to them some of their practices and processes and what they're doing. All of them have quit. It becomes a situation where, what do you want when all this is over? Are the abuses you're perpetrating on the property going to create problems down the road? Most of them listen and they change.
Okay, this next question is for Senator Keogh. Senator Keogh, why have you supported abortion in the past? 1 minute, please.
Thank you. I'm anti-abortion, and my voting record shows that what I do is I look at each bill and read every bill and determine whether or not I think that it's actually going to achieve its goals or whether it's going to get us into expensive litigation. The U.S. Supreme Court has set the bar on what's permissible by the states on this issue, and to try to pass state laws that get us into expensive lawsuits is really not fiscally conservative or, in my mind, appropriate to do. I am anti-abortion, and I look at each bill accordingly. As a result of those bills that I have voted on, about half of them, some would consider pro-life. About half of them, the other half, folks would consider pro-choice. I'm anti-abortion, but I think that we also should not be spending taxpayer dollars on lawsuits that we lose. And in those cases, with those pieces of legislation that I voted no on, they did go to court and we did lose.
Thank you. Glenn, you have like 1 minute.
Well, I'm pro-life, and I will do everything I can to protect the unborn. However, I want to read off some voting records of my opponent. She voted to give insurance coverage of abortion again on S 1115. She voted to prohibit abortions after 20 weeks on S 1165. She voted against allowing freedom of conscience to professional health care providers on House Bill 187. And she voted against requiring ultrasound prior to abortion on Senate Bill 1387. I do not consider that an anti-abortion voting record. Thank you very much.
30-second response.
I have voted to stop partial birth abortions in Idaho. I have voted yes on a bill that requires parental consent before a minor can seek abortion. I voted yes on a bill that makes sure doctors who use ultrasound in an abortion procedure offer the patient the opportunity to view the ultrasound prior to the procedure. I voted yes to a bill that requires specific information to be made available prior to abortion. I voted yes to make it unlawful for a person to coerce a woman into having an abortion. I voted yes to prohibit abortion procedure coverage by a qualified health plan offered through the otherwise known as Obamacare. And this last legislative session, I voted yes to allow volunteer ultrasounds to be given for free to those women that might be seeking an abortion before their abortion. I look at each bill and determine that accordingly. That's my record. Thank you.
Thank you. Glenn, 30 seconds.
Well, we both read the record, and it's accurate what we both said. I just feel there is a difference between us on the basis that I do not pick and choose. I will do everything I can to protect the unborn without harming the mother. I realize there are situations that I would not intercede in that should only be determined by the mother and her medical practitioners. But a child's life is very important to me, and I look at all these bills, and I would vote yes on those, plus yes on the ones she voted no on. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is for our county commissioner candidates. We will start with Louis. Mr. Rich has publicly stated that county employee morale is, quote, lower than it has ever been, end quote. What do you know about employee morale? And if you feel it is so low, what is your plan to improve it? And you have a minute.
Well, like I said at the beginning, I've never seen employee morale as low as it is now in my 36 years here. I know a lot of people who work for the county that are very, very unsure of their future because of the situation with the five wrongful termination suits, the changing to at-will employees for the department heads, and just a general unrest. They can't count on anything. They don't know what to expect. I think that we're in a situation with the wrongful termination suits, which I absolutely firmly believe we will lose, that we could be placing ourselves in the jeopardy of not being insurable. And I know that Mr. Sudik said in one of the forums, we didn't settle that lawsuit for Mr. Wakely, the insurance company did. Duh, who pays the premiums? This doesn't make sense. I think there's a good reason why there's a lot of unrest, and we need to fix it. We've got some very dedicated employees. There are a few that probably wouldn't hurt to go down the road, as there always is in any large group of employees.
It's time.
But by and large, they're not in good shape right now.
Thank you, Louis. Dan? You have 1 minute.
I think that's the first time in the forum I've heard the word "duh" used in a sentence. Since I started thinking about running for commissioner, I thought I'd go down and start hanging out around the county office building, and I'm just kind of surprised Commissioner Sudik hasn't got a restraining order. But after this issue came up, I started talking to county employees. In fact, and I'm actually going to do a couple of projects with the county, and I've spoken to those county employees. And every county employee I've spoken to, they said, of course, there's a few people that are unhappy. And I said, of course, in every organization, there's at least 10% of employees that are unhappy for one reason or another. But the comment back from almost all the employees that I've talked to has been, they're unhappy for a reason, it's for their own doing. I'm not seeing the morale. I've probably talked to now 45 employees for the county. Everybody seems pretty happy they have their job.
Thank you, Dan. Jeff, take a minute.
Well, I've talked to quite a few county employees too, and I do believe that there is a morale issue. I don't know that it's as critical as maybe Louis is stating, because I haven't seen it before. So I really don't have the comparable. But I do know one thing: in a healthy business environment, to have unhappy and worried employees, it's hard to get focused on what your job is. I really believe that an open door policy would suit us a lot better. I do believe that they are afraid of reprisal, and I do think that there is a lot of worry in that county building right now.
Thank you, Jeff. Tom, take 1 minute.
And specious remarks, by the way. I think that the county morale has never been higher. I get the janitor walk in my office and sit down and talk to me. We have a great set of employees. We've got a great working relationship with all the department heads and all the employees at Bonner County. We have, from time to time, find it necessary to terminate an employee for performance reasons. To do that, we have 3 commissioners, we have 4 attorneys, and we have our HR department. One of the attorneys involved is with our insurance company. One is an outside attorney specializing in employee law. We do not lose suits. And if the insurance company settled, it's because the cost of winning the suit is more than the cost of paying a small amount to settle and let them go away. But we have a great set of employees. We changed our department heads to at will, and that brings us in line with most of the counties in the state of Idaho, by the way. I'm proud to work there, and I'm proud of the job that the employees of Bonner County do on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Louis, would you like a 30-second rebuttal?
Well, there again, my opponent is in lockstep with the current Board of County Commissioners. Why would you express to him that you really weren't happy there, knowing whose ears were going to hear the next comments on that very issue? I know a lot of these people from past experience in my 6 years as a county commissioner. I knew Rob Wakely very well, who was the first lawsuit that the insurance company settled on, but that wasn't the county settled, it the insurance company. That's what Mr. Sudi just said again. So we have an issue that's been created by the current board and the previous board, and it's going to result in serious problems in the not too distant future. In fact, probably a lot of them right now, because there's 4 more that have been filed, and I believe more to come.
Thank you, Louis. Dan, 30 seconds.
The second time Louis said I walk in lockstep with the current commissioners. I would have to challenge him on what exactly that means, because I'm sure there's some things they've done that I may not agree with. But regardless, I run over 100 employees at a time. I understand employee disputes. I've been very successful in turning employees that may be having problems or issues around and trying to save them. But at the end of the day, you're always going to have a few people that just are happy working elsewhere.
30 seconds, Jeff.
I wholeheartedly agree that you're gonna have problems. I mean, you have a lot of employees. You are always gonna have problems, but I'm telling you, these people are coming to me and they are talking to me and they are being very, very brief with what they say, and they're very afraid of their job. So to me, they're there. They're probably not telling Commissioner Sidik this, and they're probably not telling Dan this, but they're there.
30 seconds.
Well, if the employees are unhappy with 385 people, we terminate 2. I guess the employees in Priest River are shaking in their boots because my opponent has admitted that during his 14 years on the city council there, they terminated 10 employees. So to make an accusation that we terminate employees willy-nilly for no reason, I would ask him to look at his own soul and determine whether or not he's made right decisions in terminating employees.
Okay, the next question. We've only got time for probably another 3 or 4 questions. This one is for Sean Keogh. Both District 1 representatives are highly rated by the Idaho Freedom Foundation, a well-respected analyst for conservative values. Please defend your F- rating. 1 minute.
Thank you for that question. The Idaho Freedom Foundation is one of about 400 groups that are registered to lobby in the state of Idaho, and they certainly are entitled to their opinion. I'm also rated by the American Conservative Union, which is one of the longest conservative organizations in the country, at a B. And I am rated as an A in other organizations that are conservative. And so I think the Freedom Foundation, again, is entitled to its opinion, but I respectfully disagree with that opinion. And looking at the bills that they grade, they do not grade or look at all of them. They look at a selected few. Granted, that's about 100 or so, but that's out of about 500 or so that make it through the process every year. And over the years, since they've had their system, they have opposed things that are very important to this community, like the crisis center that we just secured for Kootenai County, which has saved people here in this community, in addition to saving our tax dollars at our hospital and our law enforcement, and being humane to those who are in crisis. How can you oppose something like that? I am proud to have an F from the Freedom Foundation.
The American Conservative Organization that Senator Keogh talks about only rates 12 bills. The Idaho Freedom Foundation rates many, many hundreds of bills. And they give their ratings based on a matrix of, does it grow government? Does it expand government's control in our lives? And I'll give you an example of one bill that I talked about earlier. House Bill 1 received one of the lowest ratings I'd ever seen, a -15, because it opposes our liberties. Whether you agree with either of those ratings, it can be argued forever. Senator Keogh and I disagree. She's proud of her F-. I look forward to an A rating, along with my NRA. Thank you.
Would you like 30 seconds?
Whomever you elect in this election cycle is elected to represent you. If things like a mental health crisis center are important, if things like holding deadbeat parents accountable are important, then I'm your candidate. Thank you.
I agree with the senator on that statement, that there are things important to life for us. Number one to me, as a representative, is our Constitution, federal and state. And I will not toss that under the rail car for anyone. There are ways to collect money from deadbeat parents that we have in our court system right now, House Bill 1 is not one of them. Thank you.
Okay, this question is for Todd Sudik. Specifically explain why the two planning department planners were terminated. And you have a minute, please.
Well, I can't get into the specifics of the suit because it's, of course, in litigation now. And by the way, there are attorneys out there that just salivate at the opportunity to represent a fired government employee. But I can tell you that we don't terminate people lightly, as I explained the process earlier that we go through. But I can tell you that usually it's for job performance and the ability to work with the county commissioners, who, by the way, are in charge of planning and zoning as the management tree works. So I can't get into specifics, but I can tell you, based on how we handle those types of things, that it was not something spurious, it was not something that was taken lightly, and we're very, very confident, along with our insurance company, by the way, of our position on those terminations. We do not do terminations very often, but sometimes it becomes necessary. We want to ensure that the services that are provided to residents of Bonner County are the best services that we can provide, and that you get the services in a manner that you expect as a taxpayer. Thank you.
Got 1 minute to respond.
So, in 2014, there was an evaluation done on the planners and scored high marks, 4s and 5 stars, all through. It's hard for me to imagine that you go from that to being a low performer or an underperformer. I think that it's important not to lose sight that apparently the person or persons that were fired were not in line with what the commission wanted. I can understand that, and I can understand them getting fired, I guess. But what I can't understand is why they weren't told exactly what it was expected of them. Why didn't you go out there and say, hey, this is what we want, and this is what we expect. Now, can we get there from you, or are we going to have an issue? You know, then you offer them the chance to, you're not going to be on the team, maybe you should resign. Thank you.
30 seconds to respond.
Well, I'm interested in how my opponent knows exactly what went on in the termination. Obviously, he was sitting in the office and I didn't notice him. But in fact, all the employees are told from time to time when they need counseling exactly what we expect of them. We've had some situations where employees were brought up and the termination was considered, but after counseling the employees and actually talking them through what we expect, they weren't terminated. In fact, they're still working for the county, performing today. And in fact, the two people in planning that were terminated were told, and they were tried to work with, and as a result of their actions, they ended up being terminated. So that's just the way it is.
Thank you. 30 seconds.
Well, the reason I know so much is because I'm talking to the people that were there also. So it's pretty obvious that I do have that information, and I'll leave it at that. And as far as the terminations in the city of Priest River, I'll put my 14 and a half years against your 1 year and 4 months anytime.
Okay, this is a question for all of the state and county commissioner candidates. We will start with Shannon. What would the operation of the Rock Creek Mine would the operation of the Rock Creek Mine present an acceptable long-term risk to our lake and to our jobs? And you have 1 minute, please.
I can't really answer that because I don't really know much about the Rock Creek Mine.
Stephen?
Okay, thank you. The question is water quality, and what I understand of the Rock Creek Mine is that they want to have ponds that will leach or possibly leach contaminants into the river, which will then eventually end up into the lake. I'm for the high water quality and to make sure it's kept clean. I don't know enough of the scientific evidence or information to give more of an answer than that. Thank you.
Okay. Glenn, 1 minute.
I would say as long as the Rock Creek mine meets all federal, state, and local environmental and operational requirements, it should operate. If it does not, then it should not operate. And as to those requirements, I'm not an expert on them, but I would be happy to listen to others and help discern how to move on the issue. Thank you very much.
1 minute.
Thank you. Again, I am a person that uses the products from mining, as do all of us in this room. If you have a cell phone, you use a product from mining. And so I do believe in responsible use of our natural resources, responsible being the key. I also believe that of paramount importance and of first importance is the protection of the water quality in our lake. Once it's gone, we can't get it back. So we must protect the water quality in our lake.
Thank you. Shannon, would you like 30 seconds to respond? Okay. Stephen, would you like 30 seconds to?
No, thank you.
Okay. Glenn, would you like 30 more seconds?
No, I've already spoken.
Sean?
Thank you.
Okay. Next question. This is from online land out there and wherever you are. This is for the state of Idaho offices. What is the most important part of your job and your skills in representing those of us who live here in North Idaho? And what experience have you had to demonstrate your competency? We'll start with you, Sean.
Thank you. What I bring to the state legislative position of state senate is my personal skills, which is business background, business management skills for over, close to 30 years now. And also, and importantly in this state senate race, is the seniority position in the state senate. And I know that some folks discount that, but if you believe that having our issues addressed, getting our fair share of resources here in the north is a good thing, and that we have made incredible grounds in doing exactly that and getting our fair share here instead of seeing everything go south, then having the number one person in seniority in the state senate and having the co-chairman of the Joint Finance and Appropriations Committee as our senator is critically important, because I am at the leadership table. I will continue to put those issues on the table and make sure we get resolutions and our fair share.
Thank you. Glenn?
I bring to the table over 32 years of management experience. I've managed 2 entire companies of 300 plus employees. And along my management career, I have also been certified by the U.S. government as a cost schedule control manager for major portions of a multi-billion-dollar classified project. I have spent years testifying before Congress on this project, milestones and financial responsibility. I believe I have plenty of capability to bring this to the state senate, and I would like to apply my skills there to see to it that we don't pay any more than we have to get any more than we need out of the state. Thank you.
Stephen, would you like to respond for 1 minute?
And in my business, I've been able to negotiate with homeowners who had an idea of what they wanted. I was able to develop that idea and to give them a completed project. I think I could do the same thing with you, the voters. Once I know what your ideas are, I will work in unison with everybody, rather than being on one side of the issue or not. I'll work in the middle. I think I can carry out negotiations fairly. I know I'm going to work for your vote. I'm going to serve you, and that's what I will do as far as being in the legislature down in Boise. Thank you.
Sean, you have 1 minute.
I don't have a lot of, I have a lot of experience in that I work for my son. He's a lawyer. I work for him answering his phones and doing his extra stuff for him. But I bring to the state my expertise. I don't come across as an politician. I'm not a politician. I'm an ordinary person down there trying to do what's right for our country, what's right for Idaho, and that's what I am going to do.
All right, thank you. This next, unless anybody would like any rebuttal? 30-second rebuttal, anybody? Okay. This question is for the Senate candidates, Glenn and Sean. We'll start with you, Glenn. Leadership is key to the success of any organization. Can you provide one example of your leadership and the outcome? And you have 1 minute, please.
Okay, I'll just pick one of many. I've been working in leadership skills for probably a combined 40 years, not only as an officer, but in private industry. I was hired to take over a union company, as a matter of fact. I ran it for 2 years and worked with the employees, and we greatly increased the net profits for the company, of which I was fortunate to receive good bonuses for. But you have to learn to work with people to do that. I've worked and managed with literally hundreds of people. I have personally interviewed thousands of people for career employment opportunity, and I know how to deal with these situations. So going to the state, applying those skills, and working with the other senators and representatives down there is extremely important. I will go down, I will work hard, and I will listen, and I will form a team and develop and coordinate to get our issues heard and things done for North Idaho. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator?
I think one that I would point to in terms of leadership is the establishment of our Lakes Commission for Pend Oreille and Priest Lakes and Pend Oreille and Priest Rivers. And working at that time in establishing a commission that's a voluntary board that's appointed by the governor and confirmed by the Senate, and oversees water quality and water quantity issues on these precious water resources that we have. It took leadership of myself and my House counterparts at the time to sell the idea to our colleagues and to work with the governor to put it into place. As a result, we've made significant headway in our lake level issues, and because of the commission and the support we have from the community and the ability of the community to have a voice through its commission members who are all local, we have kept our lake levels up, and we've fought and drawn a line in the sand with the Corps successfully. And that is one example of the leadership skills that I bring and would continue to bring should you honor me with your vote. Thank you.
Glenn, would you like another 30 seconds? Okay. All right, next question is for the Sheriff's Office. Officer Ford, how does the drug war in Bonner County compare to when you and your duty, as ISP officer?
Canines.
Oh, canines? I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time reading the writing. How does the drug war in Bonner County compare to when you and your dogs as ISP officer versus now? I think that's dogs.
Well, it's pretty much the same other than different drugs. We get a lot of heroin coming in from southern borders, coming in, actually flying in, making airdrops. Used to was meth, cocaine, biggest thing. Now we're still getting a lot of meth, still getting a lot of, the biggest is the heroin. The things are, there's a lot of ways to take care of this. I was a drug interdiction officer for quite a few years. Stop them on the highway. With the drug interdiction program, there's a training that you look for indicators. If you happen to have a traffic stop, there's indicators you look for. There's questions you ask. You build it up to where, okay, I think I have enough there, I'm gonna call the drug dog in to run around the outside of the vehicle. A well-trained drug dog, if they alert on the vehicle, then that gives you PC to go in the vehicle. I've heard several of the officers now make stops and call for a drug dog. The drug dog's on shift, and it's always unavailable.
Thank you very much. This next question is for the Commissioner's Office. We will start with Louis. Do you support allocating resources to the fairgrounds, and at what level? Same, less, more? 1 minute, please.
I was the liaison to the Fair Board for most of the time I was in office, which was 6 years. And this fair really drums up a lot of sentiment. And we have supported it with county tax money in the past. I've also always pushed our fair manager, Rhonda, to try to become more self-supported by renting the facility out and making it a profit-making enterprise to lower the amount the county would have to subsidize it. And if I'm elected, I would still work towards that end because it makes sense. When we have something as attractive to many other users as we have, makes sense for it to try to make a profit to offset those expenses.
Thank you. Dan, 1 minute, please.
I think after going to a number of fairs and a number of events there, I think it is a great space. I used to play volleyball there at night in the winter. I think what the fair should consider doing, though, is they should consider opening up more commercial spaces. I've seen other fairs in other counties. Just go down to Kootenai County, and they can charge up to $500 per booth. That would help make them more self-sustainable. I think they've got the ability to do so. I think it's just a matter of tweaking the mindset a little bit so that they can support themselves.
You have 1 minute, Jeff.
So like any entity within the county, I would like to see them self-sufficient, but there's always a little help needed for some of these things. The fair is pretty near and dear to me too, because I did it for a lot of years. I don't know what the numbers are for the fair, so I would have to study up on that. But I would think that you could probably make it a little bit more business-like, but I'm not even sure of that. So there's other entities like the airports that are not self-sustaining also. So it's one of those things where you have to weigh the benefit to the whole county versus what the cost is. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sugar, you have 1 minute.
I can tell you that the current county commissioners value the fair a lot. Commissioner Glenn Bailey works with the fair and works with Ron out there. We're looking at increasing the commercial participation at the fair to raise more money. We are working with the city of Sandpoint and with our Parks and Recs director, Waterways director, to establish a commercial kitchen out there with currently available kitchen equipment that is owned by the city. So we're trying to get that going as an incubator to develop businesses. But I fully support the fair, and I think it offers a great opportunity for the county, for the youth in the county, through the 4-H programs. And I just was out there a couple of weeks ago for a Lost in the 50s benefit and auction dinner, and it was a tremendous success. And so I fully support the fair, and I think that we'll probably support it at the current level in the near future. Thank you.
Would anybody like an extra 30 seconds? No? Okay. All right, next question. This is from online. Oops. That last one was from online. I'm sorry, this one's from right here. This is for the sheriff's race. Many senior, well-trained deputies have left the sheriff's office and cite a lack of leadership as their reason for leaving. What will you do to retain our deputies? 1 minute.
First thing I'm going to do is I'll have an open door policy. And this is not only for the employees of the sheriff's office, but it's going to be for the citizens of Bonner County. Also, I'll continue the copying with cops, but it'll be on a regular basis, not just during election years. I'll set up programs where I go out to the outlying areas, have town hall meetings, talk with the citizens. I'll have also start a citizens academy where you bring people the relationship to get them to stay. There's a lot of excellent officers there, and we'd like to keep them there, and that's what I'm going to work for.
Okay, we have one more question. This will be the final question of the night, and then we will give each candidate an additional 90 seconds to give a closing statement. This is for the County Commissioner's Office. Jeff, we'll start with you. What level of support are you willing to provide for the recently developed North Idaho Crisis Line? And you have 1 minute.
Well, sadly enough, I'm completely unaware of this development, so I'm kind of embarrassed about that, really. But I would definitely support that. It's obviously a needed thing. You see it every day. We have a lot of suicides in the state, more than our share. So I would definitely support that thing.
Thank you. Todd, 1 minute.
The Idaho Crisis Line has been a long time coming. It's an important component in handling mental cases, people that have suicidal thoughts, that have depression they can't handle. It's also an adjunct to the Sheriff's Department in terms of their ability to refer. A lot of times the problems come to the forefront when the sheriff is called in to respond to a situation at a house where there might be battery involved. And so the crisis line is an important component. We support it. We've met with the crisis line folks and we're very pleased with the program. In addition to the crisis line, there's a mental health crisis center now in Coeur d'Alene that we can transport to. So when these people are identified, then their ability to be transported and put up to 23 hours and 59 minutes. They can't hold them more than that. But at least it gets them out of the way and gives them a triage situation where they can be handled and not become a danger to themselves and the community. So I fully support it.
Dan? 1 minute, please.
I also support the crisis center. I think, unfortunately, we see suicides have gone up in Idaho over the last couple of years, and I think a lot of that's due to the condition of the economy. But I think it's incumbent upon the commissioners to take a look at that and see how we can help and thereby help the residents of Bonner County.
1 minute, please, Louis.
Well, short and sweet, I'm not an attorney, I don't get paid by the word. This is something that was being discussed while I was currently a county commissioner. I understand the relevance of the mental health issues within the state of Idaho. I support this.
Okay, I applaud you, audience out there online and in here, for asking so many very pointed questions about the issues. We appreciate that. Now we'd like to offer up 90 seconds for all the candidates to give a closing statement. Before we do that, I'd just like to thank everybody who helped put this on. Chris Bessler and John Wyatt for being our moderators. Landon and Beth over there, who you can't see them, but they're monitoring the live streaming stuff. Susie Perez, thank you very much for being our timekeeper tonight. And Cheyenne, thank you so much for helping out. Cheyenne's a student here. She's getting credit for this. And thank you mostly for the candidates for being here and being so accessible. We appreciate it. And for Robin, too. Thank you very much for filling up. We will start with the Idaho Senate race. Let's start with Glenn. You have 90 seconds, please. Closing statement.
Well, I hope it's been an enjoyable evening for everyone, as it has been for me. If you have not gotten all your questions answered, I will be out in the lobby after this. I will wait and talk to everybody until you're done. Both sides of the aisle I'd like to hear from. We need to communicate and figure out the best way to resolve our issues. And the only way we can do that is by communicating. Let me leave you with this thought. Our nation, our state, and all our institutions are at a turning point. We have judges trying to redefine the Constitution, and we have the federal government trying to circumvent it. That's why I say it's very important tonight to pick someone to go down to Boise who has the strength to stand up to federal overreach and also stand up to state overreach in our lives. I would like to do that for you. Now, Senator Keogh and I both want goodness for District 1. I respect Senator Keogh as a person, and I hope she does me, likewise. But we have very different voting views, and you need to understand that before you vote. I hope we've answered all that tonight. I'd like to leave you with a Reagan quote, one of my favorites, that kind of expresses overall very shortly what I feel about the situation. He said that government is not the solution to our problem. Government is the problem. And with that in mind, I'd like to take a close eye and scrutinize everything the government does for you. The reason I'm going is for you, to protect your freedoms, your opportunity for job growth. Thank you. And good night, Glenn Rohr, State Senate, District 1. Thank you.
Senator Keogh, 90 seconds.
Thank you. I want to join everybody on this stage, I imagine, in thanking you all for putting this together, thanking Video Smith, Chuck Smith for videotaping it, and for all of you who are participating here and online. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Shawn Keogh. I am the incumbent state senator. It has been a privilege and an honor to serve you. I first ran for office when I first did run. All of our issues were being ignored. All the road projects were going south. We weren't getting heard in Boise. Since that time, and with my leadership and with the work of other legislators in the House, we have the Dover Bridge, we have the byway, we have a number of transportation projects, we have tools that help grow jobs. I have worked to cut red tape for businesses, many businesses across this district, and I've worked to try to create a business-friendly climate so that businesses that are here can grow and grow the jobs that we need. I've supported our education system because the K-12 public education system is a key component. Not only is it a constitutional responsibility, but it's a key component to the future success of all of us as a society. If you are looking for someone that has a demonstrated track record of moving our issues forward to completion, then I would be honored to continue that work for you. Shawn Keogh, www.ShawnKeogh.com. And because there's been a lot of misinformation, go to the tab that says just the facts. And please call me or email me. I look forward to talking with you. Thank you again.
Okay, now we have from the Idaho State Representative race, District 1B, Stephen Howell. You have 90 seconds, Stephen.
Thank you. I realize some of my answers tonight were inadequate and short of information, but I've only been a politician for 7.5 weeks. This is all new to me. I've got a lot to learn. Obviously, I'm a write-in candidate. That tells you how much I've got to learn. My opponent decided not to show up tonight, not because he had something conflicting. He just decided not to show up. So you don't know how inadequate his answers could have been. Sorry, it was a little bit of humor. Consider myself a candidate for District 1, seat position B, and write my name in May 17th. Thank you.
And for District 7A, Shannon McMillan. 90 seconds, Shannon.
90 seconds, wow. Okay, I want to thank you all for having me here. the questions were fantastic. And I want to say that it has been a pleasure to serve you people, all of you, for as long as I have. And I'd like to serve you again because I have things to do and they aren't done yet. My dad always used to say to us kids, if you want something to get done, you have to put something on the line. You've got to get up and vote, or else you've got no reason to complain about anything. So on May 17th, vote for me, Shannon McMillan, as your representative. Thank you.
Okay, and with the county commissioner race, for District 2, we have Todd Sudik. Todd, 90 seconds.
I want to thank everyone for showing up. I'd like to thank the Sandpoint Online and the reader for putting this on. I want to talk about, in my closing remarks, what is going right with Bonner County right now, and there's a lot that's going right. We have a balanced budget. Your county commissioners have a zero levy increase last year. We're going to have a zero levy increase this year. In addition, we paid off $1.2 million in debt last year by scrutinizing the assets of the county and by keeping the budget in line. We are moving ahead with long-term projects that are going to benefit the county and the community, installing fiber optics between county buildings to ensure adequate communication for our emergency responders. We've installed we're installing a new microwave system as a backup in communications with our 911. We've built a new solid waste collection site down in Blanchard. We're building a new one out in Duford Road because the state's going to reclaim the land, and we got ahead of that project. We've hired some great employees the efficiency of the county has increased dramatically. And that is an important long-term, long after I'm gone or any of the current commissioners are gone, those employees are going to be here and they're going to be carrying out the long-term goals of the county. And they're doing it very well. So I'm very proud of what we're doing. I'd like to continue what we're doing. And I'd like you to vote for me, Todd Sudik, as the incumbent for Commissioner, Bonner County, District 2. Thank you.
Thank you, Todd. Jeff Connolly, running for District 2. 90 seconds, please.
So there's been a lot of talk about what we can do and what we should do. And I still think that this is still the greatest country in the world. And this is the greatest state in the nation. Let's not lose track of who we are. You should be proud of who we are. And we should work harder to make it better. But let's always remember we are the U.S., the United States of America. So in closing, I just want to say that my candidacy has been because of what I saw. I got involved because I didn't like what I saw. So I thought, enough's enough. I want to get in there. The lawsuits, the terminations, all the different things that were going on. All I said was, let's bring common sense back to this thing. Let's turn this around before this gets any worse. I stand before you just asking for you to consider me on May 17th. Obviously, the way we're heading right now, you'll have 4 more years to see the results, or you can vote for me and we can have some change. Thank you. I'm Jeff Connolly. I'd like your vote on May 17th.
Thanks, Jeff. For District 3, we have Dan McDonald. Dan, you have 90 seconds.
I'd like to go ahead and close with a song. No, I'm not going to go with a song. The commissioner's position, like all elected official positions, are positions of service. So I think it's important for me to go ahead and take some time to talk about my service to the community. I was an elder for 8 years in our church. My wife and I were youth leaders. I coached baseball, kids football, girls volleyball. I've been involved in a number of fundraising organizations for local groups here. Big Boy Ballet. How many people saw the Big Boy Ballet? Anybody? Yeah, there's pictures of me in tights and a tutu out there somewhere. Also involved in Barely There, where we had the bears around town. We had artists like Barely Bears, another fundraiser. And I also was when we were going to the church that I was an elder at. We had a family that was brought to us by Cal, which is, by the way, a great organization in Bonner County. Family of 6 living in a 10 by 10 well house. Started building a house. Husband lost his job. He had some health issues. I was able to organize a group of folks to donate materials, donate labor. I did the design for the home, and we finished the house and got them out of their 10 by 10 well house and into a home before Christmas. These are the kind of things that you should look for in a community service person, in a commissioner, or any politician. Thank you. Vote for Dan McDonald.
All right, and now we have Louis Rich running for District 3. You have 90 seconds, Louis.
Well, again, if you think that what's happening with the county right now is a good thing, you're probably going to vote for my opponent. If you think that we need a change to avoid a huge derailment in our county as far as employee morale, as far as keeping us out of court, then I'm the man. I can work to change these things. One fact is, during the 6 years that I served as county commissioner, we only had one termination suit that we lost, and only one was filed. And we lost it because the attorneys didn't cross the T's and dot the I's. We had all the evaluations over a long period of time. Everything was done according to Hoyle and proper process, but we lost because of legal issues, not because we did things wrong as a board of commissioners. I have over almost 55 years of cumulative volunteer service to my community, and I'm proud of that, and I don't regret one bit of it. It was a lot of fun to do, to serve the community that's been so good to me, and I'd like to continue to serve you as your commissioner, and I'm willing to do that. Please vote for me on the 17th of May, Louis Rich, County Commissioner, District 3. Thank you.
Thank you, Louis. And last but not least, we have the Bonner County Sheriff candidate, Terry Ford. Terry, you have 90 seconds.
I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. In closing, I've started my campaign on honesty, integrity, and professionalism. And every time I say this, I never get any argument from my opponent. So there must be a problem. You can actually look back with the undersheriff fiasco. If I'm elected, I will be a leader. I will take responsibility for my team. That's what a leader does. Good, bad, or indifferent. They're my troops. I will take care of it. I will take care of the problem. It's time to keep our trained officers here. Stop the revolving door. It costs $76,000 to train each officer. Why don't we train him and send him someplace else? I will lead the sheriff's office the way it should be led, and I would appreciate your vote on May 17th. Thank you.
Okay, that concludes the forum for this evening. We will be having another forum in the fall for the general election, but that's looking too far ahead. So remember, Tuesday, May 17th is the vote, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. If you have any issues trying to find your polling place, check the city website, the county website. Sandpoint Online Election Central has information about all the candidates, and tomorrow's Sandpoint Reader has a 5-page spread with every candidate answering questions from the history of the last year of news stories. So please, thank you very much for showing up tonight. Give your candidates a round of applause.
This is Chuck Smith, Video Smith Productions, saying good night for now.